The narrative structure of a movie can be analyzed using Totoro's equilibrium model, which is what I did. The movie starts off with a teenager presenting his normal life, just being a normal gamer and enjoying spending time on the internet, which is the equilibrium. Then the disruption happens later on when he sees a girl passing his classroom and she immediately becomes that one girl for him. But she has a fandom, which is the problem for him. The new equilibrium happens when the guy is conquering the fandom, and so he gets the girl in the end. The narrative structure can also be analyzed in terms of binary oppositions. These are used to create meaning for the audience, and the ones that were used in our movie were individual versus gang, girl versus boy, strong versus weak, defensive versus aggressive, geeks versus popularity, casual versus formal, white versus black, good versus evil. We decided to present our movie in a chronological order with continuous shots, as we didn't use any flashbacks in order for the audience to understand the action and how the characters interact along the way. In terms of our ending, we decided to use both open and closed. What we mean by that is having an closed ending, knowing that the protagonist and antagonist had a fight and a clear winner came out of that fight. And then on the other hand, we have an open ending when it comes down to the audience to understand what happens with the protagonist and the girl, as they can imagine whatever they want after it, as the majority of the romantic action movies have a clear end and the audience understands where the protagonist is going to go after the credits roll. In our movie, it's kind of the opposite because we've tried to make it stand out more. In terms of narrative, we've tried constructing a restricted narrative, as the audience knows as much as the protagonist knows, and also their expectations are based on previous experiences with similar movies as our one. Also, we use restricted narrative by trying to boost the audience's curiosity and trying to use as many possibilities to have surprises in our movies as much as we could. Our typical characters are appropriate for the romantic action genre, as we have, first of all, the protagonist, who is the unpopular nerdy gamer boy who wears casual clothes in majority of the movie. Then we have his body language, which suggests that he's tired of life and he doesn't really like to socialize much. Then the dialogue between him and the other characters is brief and on point, so it's not giving too much away about him and his personal life. And then his facial expressions go from a bored and blank face to excitement and then determination as we're going along with the movie, because he changes from his boring life to this he has a new goal in trying to get the girl's attention. And then we have the popular and respected, protected girl of the school, which we can see because her dress, even though her dress code is casual, we can see that she has that special element of her. And then she doesn't try to stand out, but she has a mysterious aura around her. Also, her behavior is quite restricted to the audience, as they wish they could know more about her, but in the same time, we don't let too much. They have the sequence where they meet. You can only hear music on the background, which you don't really know what's happening, but you can see through their body language that there is something special going on. So across the movie, she's the girl that everybody wants to know something about, but they cannot get access to her. Also, the girls' admirers are represented to create fear through their appearance. They are told they wear black clothes, such as bandanas, gloves, jackets, and they communicate a lot through body language, showing that they know each other really well and that they have worked together before in this kind of situations. Also, their whole body language and facial expressions, it gives the audience the impression of them being the aggressor. Throughout the movie, we can see that their facial expressions go from they have a laugh to being serious, and leading to them being perceived as the antagonist of the movie by the audience. In terms of the storyline, because we have both romantic genre and action genre, we decided to combine both of the storylines. So the typical storyline for romantic genre is boy meets girl and they fall in love. On the other hand, the typical storyline for an action movie is protagonist and antagonist have a fight for a common goal. The storyline for our movie came out as the protagonist and antagonist having the fight for the girl in getting to her heart and getting her attention. In terms of film language and cinematography, we have tried to incorporate as many elements of cinematography related to the action and romantic genre as possible. We have close-ups in order to capture emotions and highlight possessions. And for the fight scene, we have a combination of long shots in order to capture the character's body language and show their relation with each other. Tracking shots were used to capture movement of the characters and antagonists at certain points in the fight to give a more in-depth view for the audience. We also use high and low angle to show the superiority and inferiority at certain points in the fight. This combination of shots resulted into an action-packed sequence where all of the shots are related to the action genre and they make the audience feel like they are living the action. On the other hand, with the classroom scene, we have a mix of shots that are more specific to the romantic genre. We have an extreme long shot at the beginning of the scene in order to establish the location and who are the characters that participate to the scene. Followed by a panning combined with a medium close-up to show the new characters, such as the protagonist, antagonist, and then people that are sitting at their tables and the teacher, and how they interact with each other over the scene. Close-ups were used for the protagonist to show his emotions and his personality and his reaction when he sees the girl. On the other hand, with the girl, we had medium close-up and close-up to show her reaction when she sees him and to show the chemistry between the characters that it usually used within romantic movies. In terms of sound, we have both non-diegetic and diegetic. We've decided to use a combination of this because it's more, it gives the audience a better understanding of the movie. In terms of non-diegetic, we have used voiceover in order to create meaning for the audience at certain points in the movie, and also sound effects were used during the fighting scene. On the other hand, with diegetic sound, we have used dialogue between the characters, which clarifies the role of other characters in relationship to the protagonist. In terms of editing, we have used fast-paced editing to the action-filled scene and slow motion when emotions and facial expressions combined with body language needed to be defined. The most used transition is fade to black, as we need to show time passing and to contrast the protagonist's life before he met the girl and then how hectic and energetic his life became after he met the girl. Also, we use cut on action during the fighting scene and the running scene to the college to incorporate the audience within the atmosphere that existed within the movie so they could engage better with the experience and understand what was happening. In terms of mise-en-scène and more specific locations, we have the guy's room where the movie starts off, and that's the place where he feels most safe and that's his comfort zone. And then we move on to the typical location for a teenage love story, which is the college or the school. This is the place where he feels insecure because he's not interested in his lessons and he doesn't feel comfortable being in college, but also this is where he meets the girl. So by the end of the movie, after he starts talking to her and creating a bond with her, college is the place that makes him happy and brings him a lot of memories. And this location, the college, is the typical location for a romantic movie. But on the other hand, in order to incorporate action genre, we use the park where the fight scene is used. We were thinking because in the park they usually have different sports or activities taking place which bring in the competitive element. We were thinking that it was going to be a great environment where the fight can take place because it's bringing all of the competitive elements, and also it's going against the romantic genre in a way that usually parks in romantic movies are seen as where the chemistry happens. They have long walks in the park, and romantic elements are linked with the park. But in our movie, we've tried mixing action. In terms of props, we have the magic spoon, which it's kind of the protagonist's superpower, because in the fight scene, when he got the spoon in the air and the spoon transformed into a sword, which helped him fight the antagonist and make him win by the end of the fight scene. And then what else we had? We had skateboards in our fight scene, which were again a funny kind of way to integrate different elements that would link to action, because we use skateboards as shields for the antagonist. Books and notebooks that were used in the classroom to underline the fact that we are still in a school and education is primarily. In terms of costume, we have the girl, the guy, and the other students in the classroom all wearing casual clothes, which follows the codes and conventions of the romantic genre, because no one really stands out too much of the crowd, but in the same time it shows they have different levels of popularity. But on the other hand, we have the members of the fandom, which all wear dark clothes and bandanas and gloves, which follows the stereotype of the bad guys in action movies. In terms of facial expressions and body language, it goes to excitement, and then the curiosity shines in his eyes every time he sees the girl, because he's trying to approach her and get to know her better. In terms of lighting, we have used high key, low contrast in the majority of the shots, as it was mainly daytime, and we didn't need to use any other artificial lighting. Because we use this type of lighting, we follow the codes and conventions of the romantic genre, which compare with the bedroom scene and the fight scene, where we had low key and high contrast, which were more typical to the action genre, and we tried to define the characters and the objects more, and to give them that mysterious touch, and in the same time mixing up the genre. No more be afraid.